It all began with a stone, or so the legend says.
Despite the nostalgia-stirring introduction, there's no hiding the fact that Final Fantasy XI is in many ways a completely different game now from the one we all fell in love with. 2010 saw the 75 cap abolished and the introduction of Abyssea zones, which was probably the first step on the path to where the game is today. I levelled some jobs and played a bit of the Abyssea content, but if I'm honest, I didn't really buy into it that much, and I've spent most of the last few years permanently AFK. In that time, life has gotten pretty busy. I suppose I'm now officially classed as a grown-up and have responsibilities I didn't have when I started this game around 10 years ago. I don't have it in me anymore to wait up until 3 AM camping a 24-hour pop Notorious Monster, and I struggle to commit to several hours play at a time. That being said, I've still got a huge amount of affection for Final Fantasy XI, and this is a game that always seems to call me back. And back I came, after watching some of Hunting for Games Final Fantasy XI videos, and since I've returned, I've pretty much just been on a nostalgia tour, killing notorious monsters, finishing up some story missions, and farming some classic gear pieces. But nostalgia only lasts so long, and I can't help feeling that as cool as it was finally getting my Peacock amulet, it's not going to really help me much as the game stands in 2017. So I started to wonder what Final Fantasy XI is like in 2017, and what does it offer to returning players like me, whose free time isn't what it used to be. For a start, it needs to still offer a bit of what kept me playing the game in the first place. I've had to think about exactly what that was, and I've come up with a few things. Final Fantasy XI was a pretty daunting game when I first started playing. I picked it up one Christmas holiday when I was off uni. It was my first ever MMO, and I don't remember much in the way of a tutorial. Maybe I just lost track of it, I don't really know. But I would just run around kinda confused, speaking to random NPCs which would start some obscure quest, and then you had to try and figure out exactly what to do. It was never obvious. Plus, I was playing on a 14-inch cathode ray monitor in full screen mode, so to read up on quests I had to quit the game down to get an internet browser up. It was just a total struggle navigating your way through Vana'diel. I remember I found myself in a Bastock mission where I had to collect Fetich pieces from the Quidavs and Palbara mines. I just didn't have the level to beat the mobs I needed, but just when I was about to give up, two strangers appeared and in what I thought was just a random act of kindness, helped me get the drops. But that was the thing with Final Fantasy XI, it wasn't just random. People were genuinely happy to help out. It was a game where teamwork and community was key to moving forward. There was always advice in hand about how to beat a particular notorious monster or where to go for a certain quest. These strangers in Palbara Mines invited me to their link shell and became my first friends in the game and some of my best friends over the course of many years. Neither of them still play, but I'm pleased to see that several of my friends from old endgame shell are still active and enjoying the game. The first big fight I remember was against the Black Dragon, which was the final stage before unlocking rank 3 in your home nation. I'm sure it was capped at I think level 25. This was long before you could level sync your gear, so for the fight you had to get yourself a set of level 25 or below gear and form a party. Friends from my link shell came to help me get the win, and during the preparations you would discuss strategy. Sleep the dragon while we kill the eye, and so on. Just really good fun. No other game has ever got the adrenaline going or brought out the sweats like Final Fantasy XI. So many fights come to mind. Countless battles against Kirin, the Mammoth fight in the Chains of Promathia expansion, Chains of Promathia in general. I mean, those promies were just ridiculously hard when you were level 30. Well, at least it was for me. But it was this level of challenge and reward that made Final Fantasy XI so great. You really felt you had achieved something when you got the win. Along with the win, maybe you got that drop you'd been hunting for ages. Whether you get lucky and got the drop first time, or if you finally got it after 20 attempts, getting that gear piece always felt sweet. My favourite gear piece while the 75 cap was still in place was the optical hat, but the drop that felt the sweetest was when I finally got Kirin's Sword. I put in a lot of hours with my Skylink shell to get that drop. A lot of coveted gear wasn't even a straightforward drop. Look at gear pieces like the Black Belt for Monk, or any of the relic weapons. Those took a lot of time, money, patience and luck to get, and only a few players I knew ever managed to get them. This made them really special. Talking of special, the music in all Final Fantasy games is genuinely amazing, and Final Fantasy XI was no exception. Composed by Naoshi Mizuta, Kumi Tanioka, and of course series regular Nobuo Uematsu. The soundtrack to Final Fantasy XI is one of the major reasons I can never truly quit this game. All I need to hear is a few bars of Gustaberg, Ron 4, or the Sanctuary of Zeta, and I'm straight back in. If Seekers of Adolin has a soundtrack as good as the rest of the game, I am sold. Finally, there's the stories. Final Fantasy is a series that has lasted so long for a reason. Every Final Fantasy game features rich storytelling which carries the player along on a journey to save the world. I started playing Final Fantasy XI just after the release of the Treasures of At Organ storyline. This was the third major expansion and introduced the Empire of At Organ and a bunch of new adventures. After an already extensive main storyline to the original game, this was another quality expansion after the excellent Rise of the Zillart and Chains of Promathia. Every expansion added to the lore and mythos of Vana'diel. Furthermore, the cast of characters you would meet along your journey enriched the world and the stories and really helped create the sense of a living, breathing world. A lot of players have left this game, and let's face it, Final Fantasy XI isn't attracting any new players in 2017. But this game just keeps going, and every time I've left, I've always felt a sense of excitement when I've chosen to return. This game has outlived most of the competition, and I'm glad it has. I'm glad I can still pop in to see Cid, Lion, Gilgamesh, and all the other characters that made Vana'diel what it was. I'm excited to see what the game has in store for players in 2017. While it may never reach the heights of 2007, I'm excited to see where the game takes me now. If you're interested in seeing what an old player makes of this new world, keep an eye out for future videos on this return to Vana'diel.
Its many-coloured light filled the world with life and brought forth mighty gods. Bathed in that light, the world entered an age of bliss, until after a time, the gods fell into slumber. That world was called Vana'diel.